and she's going to talk to you a little bit about headwear during the time period that the art was built.
I'm so glad to see you all. I have so many of the hats. It's just fantastic. When we were thinking about this, we were thinking, fashion show, and then I got to thinking, well, everybody wears hats. Let's talk about the hats. They had lots and lots of hats back then. In the mid-19th century, a lady really didn't leave the house unless she had her hair covered. I used to tell people it was because they didn't have hairspray, so they had the hair in place. That makes sense to my 21st century mind. But I think it was more than that. It was a fashion accessory. It was a status thing. It was just something. It's not a full dress, so it's not a full investment in something that you can put on your head. When people look at you, the first thing they see is your head. So first impression-wise, it makes it nice. So we're going to start with a lady when she first gets up and what she might wear. Instead of me trying to put these on and wrestle with these, can I have a couple volunteers? So let's say a woman has just gotten up. She's going to fix some breakfast, and she's going to feed her family. And she has long hair in most cases, and so she starts with it kind of braided usually. So pinning it up really quick is not a big deal. It's still kind of cold in the house because they don't have central heating. And so she's going to put something on her head to keep herself warm. I used to tell people, please do not crochet or go late and come to a reenactment and put it on your head. And then I learned that in Godey's magazine, here we have basically a crocheted doily with a ribbon run through it that would go on the head. It's got, the nature of it built is it's got a little pucker right here that would go on the crown of the head. And then it would fit right on there, and then her little bun would poof it out, whoops, just a little bit in the back where the ribbons are. So, just a second. You guys here, you can kind of see how it looks. How does it stay on, you might ask? It's just a doily with on head, right? Okay. Lace caps and doilies that are built like this that don't have anything on them to hold them on would be pinned into the hair. So you can see how my hair is up. You would just put this on and you would take a straight pin and you would weave it between the cap and your hair. I know it sounds weird. It's not going to stay. Are they going to stay? It works. It works. I've done it and I've worn this particular one all day at an event with it just pinned with two straight pins into my hair. Okay, let's swap out here. If you want more with ties, this is what's called a Norwegian morning cap or morning bonnet. Same thing, it's knitted, it's warm, goes on the head. Again, it has a little puckering in its construction that makes it evident that that's where your crown of your head is supposed to be. It can tie under the chin, it can tie under the bun, or if you don't have strings quite so long, you can leave these hang, they call them rillettes, and again, you could just pin it into the hair. So when you look at it, it's kind of a pretty little thing that you can slap on in the morning just to feed your family. The other type of caps that they had for morning wear, if you're fancier, maybe made out of lace, maybe made out of a lightweight muslin. They call it reading muslin, so you could actually see through it with lace trims on it. The skin would fit on, tuck underneath the bun here. A couple little pins will hold it nice and cute. This is like one of my favorite ones. They had frequently little bows on the top, and it's just things that made you feel special, look pretty. And there's nothing wrong with feeling pretty. We kind of get away from that nowadays, I think. During the daytime, you might wear a lace cap at home. 1861, Florence Hartley came out with an etiquette book that said we're no longer so old-fashioned and we have to wear a lace cap at home on our heads. Perfectly acceptable to go about bareheaded. However, when you look at a lot of actual images of women from the period, you will see them with lace caps that would fit on more like this, so that the lace is going to frame the face. If you just hold this still there. Put one over here on you also. And same deal. These I cheated, and I do have alligator clips on them, just because I wear these a lot, and I'm too lazy to pin them in the right way. So you can turn around and show them how pretty that is. Imagine it over a bun. Same thing with, where'd you go? This one. I cheated on this one too. But you can put it on and little alligator cuffs will hold it. Turn around and they would come like that and they just come out a little bit over the bun. So that is for homeware. And it seems kind of frilly, you know, for just around the house. But again, things like this would help to keep the hair in place where you don't have hairspray. And granted, they didn't do quite the same amount of hair washing that we do, so it's not as flyaway. They did have a pomade, which is kind of a waxy base, that is also going to help give some structure to the hair. But being able to cover it, put things in place, pin things in place was real helpful. Now we're going to go outside and we're going to work in the garden. We don't want to get freckles. And we don't want to get a sunburn, because that would just be horrendous. These are proper bonnets for the era. They don't quite look like what Hollywood portrays, do they? Hollywood has more of a poke bonnet and has just a little ruffle around the bottom. These are made specifically for a couple different purposes. One is that this is going to protect you from the sun, right? The sun is not going to touch you. It's also going to protect your clothing. If you were wearing cotton or a wool, cotton especially, fades horribly in the sun. So you don't want your dress to fade just along the shoulders and the upper back. So you put a sunbonnet on, it's going to protect your dress, it's going to protect you. This one is constructed just like they did, it's constructed off an original. I mean, I made this, but it's constructed off an original. These little stiffenings, they called it pasteboard back then. We call it poster board or cereal boxes. So it's sewn with channels in it. They're open on the back side so that you can put the little pasteboard in there. And when you want to wash it, you pull the pasteboard out, you wash it, you dry it, and you put it back in. Disadvantages to this. When you had this on, did you feel kind of isolated? And like you're wearing a mailbox? That's what it's like. Advantages? You can't hear a lot that's going on around you. This does affect that. The other thing is it has a certain amount of anonymity and privacy. Sometimes when I go to events, I'm not a people person. I don't want to interact with everybody. I put this on, I'm in my own little world. and I can feel that way. I don't look around and see tons of people and I'm upset. Disadvantage. Is it going to be hot if you wear a cardboard box on your head? Yeah. It is. It's going to be very hot. And so instead of, or another option two, is what's called a corded bonnet. Same construction style. Who's next? Is still going to cover your shoulders all nicely. It's going to keep you safe from the sun. It doesn't have cardboard in it. It has cords that are literally sewn into channels. So you put the cord down, you run a stitch across. You put another cord down, you sew it into another channel. So you got 5 or 6 cords, and then you got an open space that's going to breathe and be lighter and not so hot. And then you have 3 or 4 cords, and then an open space, and then 3 or 4 cords, and then an open space, then you got the back. So it's not going to be as hot. Advantages, if I'm not in the sun, I do not have to take my bonnet off to see the world. I can just fold it back. I also don't have to take the pasteboard out to wash it. But if it's a windy day and it's sunny, this is a nightmare. It's going to blow in your face and cause all kinds of problems. So they both have ups and downs. So now I'm going to leave my house. I don't want to, I'm done working in the garden. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to change my dress because we don't have deodorant. Ladies change their clothing quite frequently during the day based on what they were doing to freshen up. And if it was wool or silk, you hang your wool and silk dress up, airing your dirty laundry, so that it will air out and smell better later. If it's cotton, you can wash it, but they wash their cotton dresses about once a month, so it wasn't the same as how we wash our clothing. But we're going to change clothes, we're going to put on something nicer, and we're going to go to town. So the standby for the period were bonnets. I love bonnets, but they're a little tedious. They were worn on the back of the head, so they framed the face nicely. This one is more of an 1850s style. It has wire construction. It's very cool. You are not going to be hot in this bonnet because if you turn around, you have absolutely wonderful airflow going on here. So these wire constructed lace bonnets, really popular in the 1850s, somewhat in the 1860s. They're kind of a joy to wear. Then we have silk bonnets, probably the most common form of bonnet. These have a buckram frame and wire, so they're flexible. And then they're decorated with, they would use silk flowers and silk flowers back then, which is kind of bizarre. You could also crochet flowers. Ladies' books had patterns for it. And so these bonnets, if you start to see, they've got a little different shape to them. This is kind of low and out to the side. That's an 1850s-ish look or early 60s. These get tall in the front, really tall. They call them spoon bonnets, and they narrow down on the sides. If it's summertime, this is good for all year round. Silk bonnets, or you can wear it anytime. This is a summer thing. And then they also had straw bonnets. The style is called Marie Stewart. So what they've taken is the spoon crown and they folded it down just a little bit. It gives a totally different look. How it frames her face. This one actually could fall into 1850s because it's so wide out here. 50s were wide, and 60s were more high. But straw bonnets were also acceptable March through November, kind of like you can't wear black after Memorial Day and you can't wear white after Labor Day. Straw bonnets were March through November, and the rest of the year it's either a silk bonnet or a hood. Okay, so if we're going to town, but we don't have to be so formal. We're going to go to a picnic, maybe. We can wear straw hats instead if it's summertime. Men wore felt hats. Ladies wore straw and silk hats, also being constructed over buckram if they're silk. So if you're wearing a straw hat, this is kind of a little jaunty thing, especially if you go riding. And this one. Now the interesting thing is when you get into the hats and some of the lace caps, you'll find that there's a cording on them. Elastic cord was a thing in the 1860s. So the hat would go on, this cord would come down on it with anchor under the bottom. I can wear this in the world's worst windstorm. It's going to work because that anchor really works nicely. And then if you just kind of pick at your hair just a little bit, you can cover up that cord on the sides. This one also has the cord. It's got a double layer of it. Holds them nicely in place. So I've gone now to town. I've gone and had a picnic with my friends. It's getting to be dinner time. So I'm going to change my dress again. There's no hosting dinner. And into something more formal. So come on over here. And of course we have to have a headdress that's going to go with that, right? To be more formal. So we can be inside, we don't have to worry about the sun, and this is pure frippery. All of this at this point is purely for effect. Turn around. Look how pretty that is. Florals are also a big thing. This one is wired so that it sits right on top of your bun, which is going to help hold it in place. When I put this on, I usually put a bobby pin on or a straight pin to hold it in place, but I really don't need it because the tension over my bun and then the placement of it will hold it in place. Got these little ribbons that'll hang off to the side. See how pretty that is. Just something nice to wear and lighten up the evening, brighten up the room. If you get into balls, you can wear this for dinner too, but if you get into balls, it turns into more florals, a little more danglies. So this would sit on her head about like that and hang down. Very simple things that they put on, but they simply did not appear in public without some kind of adornment on the head. So, I expect you all to go home, make yourself a bit of cookery, and show up at dinner with it, and see if your significant other says anything about it. Or if he just thinks you lost your mind. Anyway, thank you very much.